Companies Act 1965 is the first law prescribing information that must be provided by a company before Companies Act 2016 come into force. Since its introduction in 1965, the Act has undergone a number of amendments, some of which relate to financial reporting. Nine schedule asks companies to disclose profits and loss account and statement of financial positions or balance sheet. Section 169, subsection 14 of Companies Act 1965, each balance sheet should provide true and fair view, and each profit and loss to the account should comply with the conditions of 9 schedule as far as relevant. Section 169, subsection 4 explains that profit and loss account and balance sheet a company must be properly audited before it is presented first at its annual general meeting. Malaysia became a member of International Accounting Standard Community or IASC in 1975. Most of the International Accounting Standard (IAS) issued by IASC and International Financial Reporting Standard (IFRS) have been issued by its successor. International Accounting Standard Board (IASB) has adopted in Malaysia. MAPA is self-regulatory accounting body in Malaysia. It was known as Malaysian Institute of Certificate Public Accounting or known as MIPA on 29 January 2002. The association was the first body to introduce a training and examination system leading to professional accounting quality in Malaysia. It merged with the Malaysian Institute of Accounting known as MIA to further implement IAS and also develop a local standard known as Malaysia Accounting Standard (MAS). The objective is to regulate the practice of the accounting professional and to promote the interests of profession in Malaysia. MASB was established under the Financial Reporting Act 1997. MASB as an independent authority to develop and issue accounting and financial reporting standards in Malaysia. The financial reporting framework in Malaysia was created by MASB together with the Financial Reporting Foundation or known as FRF. This framework includes an independent standard setting structure with representation from all relevant parties in the standard setting process such as preparers, users, regulator, and accounting profession. The company financial statement provide financial information used by investor, creditor, and analysts to assess the company financial performance. It need to be prepared or settled under any law administered by such regulator like Securities Commission Malaysia, Bank Negara Malaysia, or Register of Companies based on Section 26D of Financial Reporting Act 1997. MASB has also issued a number of accounting standards called Malaysian Financial Reporting Standard or MFRS that commonly used by public entities. On 14 February 2014, FRF and MASB announced the introduction of Malaysian Private Entity Reporting Standard (MPERS). Because PERS consists of all MASB standards, most of which are obsolete and do not fit the current MFRS framework. The use of accurate accounting by federal and state government of Malaysia is to increase the financial reporting by public sector and in line with the government economic transformation plan. It is turned into cash-based accounting to accurate-based accounting. Some of the objectives of MASB is to develop and promote high-quality accounting and financial reporting standards in line with international best practice for the benefit of consumers, providers, auditors, and the general public in Malaysia. MASB achieved its objective mainly by expanding and publishing MASB-approved accounting standards and promote its use standard in general financial statement and other financial statement reporting. Function and powers of MASB as provided for under this Act. First is to issue new accounting standard as approved accounting standard and review or adopt existing accounting standard as approved accounting standard. Masb also conducting public consultations and make changes to the proposed accounting standard that are deemed necessary, new and existing standard statement of principle and proposed standard change too. An act to establish the Financial Reporting Foundation and the Malaysian Accounting Standard Board to provide their function and power and to provide matter relating to it. This act can be referred to as the Financial Reporting Act 1997. Role played by the Financial Reporting Framework is providing information to the management of the organization. It is used for planning, analysis, and decision-making process. It also provides useful information that will help stakeholders to make decisions about the organization. It assists the board in developing IFRS standard based on consistent concept and provide information to the statutory auditor, which in turn facilitate the audit. It is to audit the financial statement. In terms of economic, it also provides information on the economic resources of the organization, such as how these resources and demand change over a period of time. Financial reporting is responsible to develop account reconciliation, journal entries, financial statement, data compilation, and analysis to ensure accuracy and timely delivery. It is important to have accountants to observe and monitor the financial matter of company. It helps the organization know the cash flow of the company. The importance of cash flow is exchange of cash between the company and the outside world over a period of time, and therefore investor can find out if the company has enough cash to pay for expenses and asset purchases.
Bank Negara Malaysia. It is a central bank of Malaysia, established on 26 January 1959 under the Central Bank of Malaysia at 1958. Now, Bank Negara Malaysia is governed by the Central Bank of Malaysia at 2009. It is a wholly owned statutory body of the Malaysian government. It reports directly to the Ministry of Finance on matters pertaining to monetary and financial sector policies. Central role of the BNM includes practicing prudent monetary policy to ensure low and stable inflation rate and sustaining the purchasing power of the Malaysian ringgit. BNM also responsible for instituting stable financial system and developing the financial sector in Malaysia. BNM plays a key role in setting access of financial services to various forms of economic sectors and background of society in Malaysia with the intention of achieving balanced economic growth. BNM include being the banker, financial and economic advisor to the Malaysian government and the sole authority for issuing ringgit currency and managing Malaysia International Reserve. 7 other functional areas of BNM which relate to the country's economic and monetary policy, investment and operations, financial institution regulation, payment system, supervision, organizational development, and provide and enhance information transparency and disclosure to various stakeholders. Current BNM Governor is Datuk Nur Syamsiah Muhammad Yunus. BNM Governor is the Chief Executive Officer of the bank and is assisted by 3 Deputy Governors who report directly to the Governor and 8 Assistant Deputy Governors. The roles of the bank are supported by 39 departments. The policy for the bank is set up by the Board of Directors of BNM. It comprises 11 members including the BNM Governor, Deputy Governors, Secretary General of the Treasury. Most members on the Board of Directors are appointed by His Majesty TYMM Yang di-Pertuan Agong except for the Deputy Governors who are appointed by the Ministry of Finance. The acts that under the purview of the BNM include the Development Financial Institution Act 2002, Anti-Money Laundering and Anti-Terrorism Financing Act 2001, Money Services Business Act 2011, Financial Services Act 2013, Islamic and Financial Services Act 2013.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Sofia binti Abu Hashim. My matric number is 050586, and in today's presentation I'll be specifically talking about the Securities Commission Malaysia. As you can see on the left side of the slide right now, there is a logo. That is a logo of Securities Commission Malaysia. Before I further dive into the topic, I'll be explaining about what does it mean by securities and securities market. For securities, securities mean debentures, stocks or bond issued. And secondly, the securities market is a place where public companies issue their equity instruments, such as ordinary shares, preference shares and warrant, and also their debt instrument. This is so that they can raise source of capital from the public to finance their business. One of the example of securities market is Bursa Malaysia, which is the exchange where shares and bonds are traded by Malaysian companies referred to as listed companies. Under the Capital Market and Services Act 2007, Securities Commission is responsible for supervising and regulating activities of market institutions and persons licensed under this act. So, what does it mean is all of the activities that are in securities market are supervised and regulated by Securities Commission. For today's presentation, I'll be speaking mainly about these three things, which is the history of Securities Commission Malaysia, and then I'll be listing out the Securities Commission Malaysia regulatory function, and third, I'll be explaining about the organizational structure of Securities Commission Malaysia. Now, I will briefly explain about the history of Securities Commission Malaysia. It was formed on 1 March 1993 under the Securities Commission Act 1993. Securities Commission Malaysia is a self-funding statutory body with authority to carry out investigation and enforcement power over entities whose securities are issued to the market. In my opinion, Securities Commission is like a caretaker for the entities who adhere the law and police to the entities who had misconduct, who violate the law, and something like that. And then moving on, Securities Commission also reports directly to Ministry of Finance and obtain income from the collection of levies and application. Before this, I had stated that Securities Commission is a self-funding. Thus, they obtain their income from the collection of levies and application fee. And then, lastly, Securities Commission's annual report is tabled in Parliament annually. Primarily, Securities Commission Malaysia is entrusted with responsibility to systematically develop, regulate and provide a safe investment platform for capital market investors, which include protecting investors' rights against fraud and misconduct. Thus, this is in line with what I have said before, that Securities Commission Malaysia is caretaker to those who are adhering the law and a police to those who violate the law and did a misconduct. Next, moving on to the Securities Commission Malaysia's mission. The Securities Commission Malaysia's mission is to promote and maintain fair, efficient, secure and transparent securities and derivative market, and to facilitate the orderly development of innovative and competitive capital market. Next, moving on to the second part of my presentation, which is Securities Commission Malaysia's regulatory function. The following are the Securities Commission's regulatory function. Firstly, registering authority for prospectus of corporations other than unlisted recreational clubs. Secondly, approving authority for corporate bond issues. Thirdly, regulating all matters relating to securities and futures. And fourthly, regulating the takeover and mergers of companies. Next, regulating all matters relating to unit trust schemes, and then licensing and supervising all licensed persons, supervising exchanges, clearinghouse and central depositories, encouraging self-regulation and ensuring proper conduct of market institutions and licensed persons. Moving on to the last part of our presentation, which is organizational structure of Securities Commission Malaysia. The organizational structure of Securities Commission Malaysia comprises of 9 commission members which are appointed by Minister of Finance Malaysia. The 9 commission members which are appointed are including the executive chairman and 7 other private and government representatives. The chairman reports to the commission members, and the deputy chief executive of Securities Commission Malaysia will report to the Securities Commission Malaysia's chairman. The present Securities Commission Malaysia's chairman is Datuk Syed Zaid Albar, which began at 1 November 2018. The Executive Chairman of Securities Commission Malaysia will handle the matters pertaining to market development, corporate finance and investments, Islamic capital markets, corporate resources, capital market law and regulations. And then, the Deputy Chief Executive of Securities Commission Malaysia's job scope is to manage the investors' affairs and complaints, market and corporate supervision, intermediary and fund supervision, as well as enforcement division. That's all from me. Thank you.
Now, let's take a look at Bursa Malaysia Berhad, which is Malaysia-listed stock exchange operator office that offers a complete range of services covering trading, clearing, depository and settlement.
Bursa Malaysia is an exchange holding company incorporated in 1976 and listed in 2005, so it's one of the largest bourses in Asia. Bursa Malaysia helps over 900 companies raise capital across 50 economic activities, whether through the main market for established large-cap companies, the East market for emerging companies for all sizes, or the lead market for up-and-coming SMEs company. ACE market here is a secondary market listing on Bursa Malaysia. ACE is an acronym for Access, Certainty and Efficiency. As an inclusive marketplace, they provide easy access to many investment products and services, connecting domestic and foreign market participants to all types of opportunities to help them to expand or invest with impact. The diverse product range includes equity, derivative, offshore and Islamic assets, as well as exchange-traded funds, real estate investment trusts, and exchange-traded bonds and sukuk. Now, move to the vision of Bursa Malaysia. There are 3 of vision here. Firstly is to be Asians leading. Second is being responsible. And last, be globally connected marketplace. They will pursue innovative ways to enhance or revolutionize their products and services. They also will continue to champion sustainable marketplace development by promoting responsible growth while facilitating fundraising, value and wealth creation. Let's see. The Bursa Malaysia history started with 1930. Singapore Stockbrokers Association, which is first formal securities business organisation established in Malaysia. Later on in 1937, which is Malayan Stockbrokers Association. Next, in 1916, the Malayan Stock Exchange was established and the public trading of shares commenced. The board system had trading rooms in Singapore and Kuala Lumpur, linked by direct telephone lines. Then, in 1964, the Stock Exchange of Malaysia was established. Later on in 1965, the Stock Exchange of Malaysia became the Stock Exchange of Malaysia in Singapore, which is the secession of Singapore from Malaysia. In 1973, the Stock Exchange of Malaysia and Singapore divided again into Kuala Lumpur Stock Exchange Berhad and the Stock Exchange of Singapore, with the cessation of currency interchangeability between Malaysia and Singapore. In 1976, the Kuala Lumpur Stock Exchange was incorporated as a company limited by guarantee and took over the operation of the Kuala Lumpur Stock Exchange Berhad in the same year. Later on in 2004, Kuala Lumpur Stock Exchange changed its name to Bursa Malaysia Berhad with the purpose to enhance competitive position and to respond to global trends in the exchange sector by making the exchange more customer-driven and market-oriented. And lastly, there you go, in 2005, Bursa Malaysia Berhad was listed on the main board of Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad on 18 March 2005.
Next, we are going to see regarding Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance. What is corporate governance? Corporate governance is defined as the process and structure used to direct and manage the business and affairs of the company towards promoting business prosperity and corporate accountability, with the ultimate objective of realizing long-term shareholder value while taking into account in the interests of other stakeholders. Next, as we can see that Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance has been introduced by Securities Convention Malaysia. Now, we are going to see the history of Malaysian Code Corporate Governance. It was firstly introduced during 2000 due to East Asian Economic Forum. Next, it was revised in 2007 to strengthen the role and the responsibility of the board directions, audit committee, and the internal audit function. In 2012, the code was being strengthened to the board of structure and the composition, recognizing the role of director as active and responsible fiduciary. During 2017, the old code is replaced by the new code, a new approach to promote the greater internationalization of corporate governance culture. Until now, they are using the same code. In the next slide, we'll be seeing the new approach of Malaysian Code Corporate Governance in 2017. They apply, first of all, is apply or explain an alternative. Next is intended outcome, clarify the practices. Third is guidance, that is to assist company in applying the practices. Step up. Number 4, identify the exemplary practice which support the companies in moving towards to greater excellence. Number 5 is Malaysian Code Corporate Governance target listed companies. Number 6 is certain practices only applicable to large companies. For example, is company on Bursa Malaysia Top 100 Index or companies with market capitalization implement the practice into substances to achieve intended outcomes. While R is report is provide a fair and meaningful disclosure on the company's corporate governance practices. As we can see that the aim of the CARE is to encourage company to clearly identify the thoughts process involved in practicing good corporate governance, including providing fair and meaningful explanation on how the company has applied the practices. CARE also, their aim is to reinforce the mutual trust between companies and their stakeholders. And one more is CARE will help generate greater interest in corporate governance. Next, we are going to see the case of departure from the practice, the differences. A company must provide an explanation for the departure, disclose the alternative practice it has adopted, and how the alternative practice achieved in the intended outcome. Next, the large company required to disclose is action which they have taken or intended to take. Next is the time frame required. This is the difference in Malaysian governance, corporate governance. Now we are going to see the key principle of good corporate governance. This is the most important thing that we have to know regarding Malaysian good corporate governance. They are divided into three, that is principle A, B, and C. Now we are going to see the principle A. In principle A have three components, that is board responsibilities, board's compositions, and last is remuneration. Now we are going to see the board responsibilities. We can see that in principle A, they strengthen the independence of the board. We can see that in 2017, they provide at least half of the board must comprise of the independent directors. For the large companies, there must be a majority of independent directors. In Malaysian corporate governance 2017, while we can see in two-tier voting process, large company has discouraged from retaining an independent director for more than 12 years. Next, we are going to see the board's composition. We can see they urge the companies to make sure that 30% of the board members are women, not only in boards but also in senior management. Last but not least is the remuneration. For the principle A is new requirement for all fields of directors, as you all can see in the slides. In principle B, we can see there is two components, that is audit committee and risk management and interval control framework. In audit committee, we can see that the chairman of the audit committee must not be the chairman of the board. It is also recommended as a step-up practice for the committees to comprise of independent directors only. This is to strengthen the independence of audit committee. Next is risk management and interval control framework. As we can see that step-up practice is recommended that the board should establish a risk management committee which comprise a majority of independent directors to oversee the company's risk management framework and policy and its implementation. Audit committee also should ensure that internal audit is effective and independent. The last principle is principle C, that is integrity in corporate reporting and meaningful relationship between stakeholders. We can see that there are two components, that is communication with stakeholder. In communication with stakeholder, we can see that the board ensures the effectiveness,
transparent and regular communication with the stakeholders. Large companies are encouraged to adopt the integrated reporting based on the globally recognized framework. Next is conduct of the general meeting, the second component of Principle C. Malaysian Corporate Code Corporate Governance has introduced an additional requirements to improve shareholders' participants and engagement with the board at general meetings. First of all is notice of annual general meeting to be given at least 28 days before the date of meeting. Next is all directors should attend the general meeting to engage with the shareholders. The third one is the companies with a large number of shareholders or have meetings in remote location to leverage on the technology to facilitate electronic voting and remote shareholders participation. In conclusion, we can see that by updating the Malaysian Code Corporate Governance can reflect the global principle and internationally recognize the standards and the practices of corporate governance. This catapult the Malaysian companies to be on par with the international standards of governance. That's all from our group. Thank you.